Being an au pair means living in a stranger's home and calling it a family. You take care of their children. You trust them. You eat dinner, sleep in their house, and think you're starting a new life. But what happened when the child you care for isn't normal? When the man you fall in love with already knew about you before you ever met? And when the family who welcomed you at the airport never really existed? These are 3 true stories told by young women who were just trying to live their lives, but instead walked into something much darker. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and don't forget to check the lock on your door. Story 1. Brandon, the hollow smile. Some children don't have to learn how to hurt people because they're born knowing how. I was 20 when I first came to the US, working as an au pair for a family with 2 sons. The Josephs lived in a peaceful, leafy neighborhood. Manicured lawns, polite parents, all just a little too distant. At first, I told myself this would be a great year, an adventure, a story to tell my friends back in France. I was wrong. The family had 2 boys. Brock, 12, was a typical kid, a bit lazy, sometimes rude, but nothing alarming. Brandon, 9, was something else entirely. I remember our first meeting. He stood in the hallway, arms limp at his sides, eyes hollow. He didn't say hi, he wasn't shy, he just stared at me like he was trying to dissect something unfamiliar. After a few silent seconds, he asked, "Are you the replacement?" I smiled and said I'd be caring for him and his brother this year. He didn't smile, didn't respond, just kept staring. I'd been warned Brandon was a bit difficult, but no one told me he could lie so easily it was chilling, or that he'd stare at you while you slept, like a ghost. He once told a teacher that Brock tried to choke him in the kitchen. It never happened. He told neighbors his parents locked him in a closet every night. He told me the previous au pair ran off into the woods and never came back. One day, while I was folding laundry, I saw Brandon quietly standing behind the door, eye pressed to the gap. I caught only a glimpse, thought he was just being curious. That night, I pulled back my blanket, and my body went cold. Hundreds of push pins, all pointing up, embedded in the mattress like they'd been placed with purpose. A trap. If I hadn't checked, if I'd just been tired and laid down without looking, I don't want to imagine what would have happened. I didn't tell his parents. I was scared. Scared they wouldn't believe me. Scared they'd blame me. After that, Brandon started following me around the house. I'd turn around while doing dishes, and he'd be standing right behind me. I'd be reading on the couch, and he'd be sitting in the corner, silent, unblinking, just watching. Once I found a small box in his room. Inside were strands of hair, fingernail clippings, and a blurry photo of me, asleep, taken through the crack of my door. I started locking my bedroom door at night, but locks don't stop him. One night, I woke up with the feeling someone was near me. I opened my eyes. Brandon was standing by my bed, less than a meter away. In his hand was a kitchen knife. I screamed. His parents rushed in. Brandon calmly slipped the knife under my bed and said, "I was sleepwalking." I pointed at the knife handle still sticking out. They pulled it out. Brandon shrugged. "I've never seen that before." And they believed him. The next morning, his mom called me into the living room, accused me of stealing her necklace. It was found in my bag. I had never seen it before. Brandon stood at the end of the hallway, hands in his pockets, smirking. No teeth, no emotion. I was fired. I went back to France, feeling like my life had fallen apart, all because of a 9-year-old. 3 months later, I saw a news article. Another au pair seriously injured after falling down the stairs in the Josephs' house. No one was investigated. Brandon, was still smiling. Story 2. The perfect boyfriend, the perfect stalker. When things feel too perfect, it may not be because you're lucky, but because someone planned it long ago. I'm a German au pair living with a wealthy host family in California. After a few weeks, I'd settled in well. Every Tuesday night, I'd go out drinking with my best friend, a local girl named Jenny, at a bar called Tap. That night, while waiting for a drink, a tall guy with soft brown curls approached and asked, "You're German, right?" I was surprised. Most people couldn't tell. My accent wasn't strong, and I didn't look obviously German. His name was Sebbie. He was natural, polite, and knew a lot about German culture. We clicked instantly. Unlike most guys who only flirt, Sebbie made me feel like I was seen. We started dating. Everything felt eerily perfect. One night, I stayed over at his apartment. His room was clean, minimal, but what caught my eye were the photos. Dozens of black and white prints hanging across the walls, landscapes, villages, European architecture. I realized they were all from Germany. One of them was an overhead shot of the tiny village where I grew up, so precise it could have only been taken by a drone or satellite. I asked him about it. He smiled. Just a coincidence. My dad used to collect aerial photos. I wanted to believe him, but something in me started to shift. Another time, we had dinner at an Italian place. He said he picked it because they have a lot of vegetarian options. I was startled. I'd never told him I was vegetarian. He smiled. "I saw it in one of your old posts." Back home, I checked. The post was from 3 years ago, in German. In the caption, "Who scrolls back that far?" I waited until the next time I slept over. I checked his phone. He wasn't careful. I got in. There was a folder named Wife. Inside, screenshots of my stories, posts, and places I'd been. Translations of all my German captions. Notes about my schedule, times, dates, bars I visited, and a photo of my ID. Then I remembered. On my second night in America, I lost my wallet at a party. He must have found it and used it to learn everything. There was a final note, several paragraphs long, describing in detail what he wanted to do to me, physically, emotionally. I couldn't bring myself to reread it. I left in the middle of the night with a small backpack, said nothing, left no trace. The next morning, my phone blew up. "You read it, didn't you? I was just trying to love you." I blocked everything, locked down my accounts. 2 weeks later, I got a package with no name. Inside was a photo of me washing dishes, clearly taken through the host family's kitchen window. I thought I'd chosen the right person, but the truth was, I walked right into his plan, and he's still watching. D. Story 3. Leah, the woman who wasn't there. You think you're about to start a new chapter, but someone else is already writing your ending. I'm an au pair from Canada. I couldn't afford a premium agency, so I posted my profile on a free site. A woman named Leah reached out. Her voice was soft, easy to talk to. She sent me a contract, asked lots of questions, but whenever I asked to talk to her child, she always had an excuse. "He's asleep." "He's at a friend's place." I brushed it off. Thought it was nothing. I booked a flight to Paris. On arrival, Leah didn't show up. Instead, a blonde woman around 45 smiled and approached me. "You're Leah's au pair, right?" "I'm her cousin." I was confused, but she had my name, my flight info, even my luggage details. I asked to call Leah. She said Leah was driving. Her phone was off. I was tired, hungry, and overwhelmed. So I got in the car. That was a mistake. GPS wasn't working. The scenery didn't match the neighborhood Leah had sent me in photos. We drove into an industrial area, no houses, no people, just silence. I asked, "Where are we going?" She smiled faintly. "Shortcut. Leah's waiting for you at home." I gripped the door handle. As soon as the car slowed down, I opened the door and jumped out. My luggage spilled. My palms were scraped. I was shaking. She didn't chase me, just stared at me through the windshield, like I was the crazy one. Then she turned and drove off. I called a friend. They came and took me in. Police investigated. There was no Leah in the au pair registry. The child's photo was from Google. The phone number, untraceable. If I hadn't jumped out of that car, I might not be here to tell this story. I used to think I was smart, but really, I was just lucky. Closing narration. 3 young women, 3 chances to escape something truly terrible. You might call it instinct or maybe just luck, but not everyone is that lucky. In a world where your location, your face, your smile, even your eating habits are shared online, what you lose isn't privacy anymore, it's control. You never know who's watching you, who's saving your photos, who's thinking about you, while you have no idea they even exist. And the scariest part is, you may have already walked past them, on the street, in a bar, or at the airport. If you've experienced something similar, or know a story that keeps people from walking alone at night, tell it. And if you're brave enough, I'll tell it to the world for you. Just remember, sometimes it only takes one moment to change the rest of your life. Thanks for staying until the end. I'll see you again, if you're still here after dark.